Hello everyone and welcome to my in-depth concept review for the Super Idol. The layout on it is the same as my newest original Idol and Idol Pearl, 75 by 4 7/8 by 55 dual angle and 4 7/8 by 5.5 by 3.5 pin buffer. My A-game specs are 17.5 miles per hour speed, 450 revs, 7 degrees of tilt, and a 45 degree angle of rotation. This layout gives me easy length and a firm but controlled finish on the back end. Now for the in-depth, I'm going to be quite a bit more casual and forthcoming. I had grand designs on a new format, something that was beyond just some nice graphics and a lot of pretty strikes and didn't amount to just marketing or advertising. So having three idols to work with, I thought it'd be a great opportunity to show the difference between the three as well as show how they might work together. The idea was to line up with all three, show the initial difference, start with the idol, and then show the adjustments and where the super and the pearl would come into play as the lanes transitioned. Great idea in theory. On something other than a typical league shot anyway, I forgot my cardinal rule, which is no surface on house shots. I'll get into that in a moment. As you can see, the Idol Pearl and Super Idol aren't terribly dissimilar, which was a huge surprise for me. I'd expected a reaction much closer to the Marvel Maxx SE, which has a nano-based pearl cover like the Super Idol, while the Idol Pearl cover is the pearl version of the Hypercell Fused cover. The Marvel Maxx SE is much earlier, heavier rolling, and several boards stronger overall. Both the Super and the Pearl are really easy down the lane, but the E-Trax cover on the Pearl is a quicker response cover, so it's stronger on the back end than the Super, or it feels stronger. On video, they look almost exactly the same, at least on the fresh. They separate a bit once we hit transition. We'll see that a little bit later. The Idol, of course, is several boards stronger than both. I've started out many a league set with it here, albeit not at box surface. The Idol looks great, of course. This is my second one, and the thing I love most about the nano cover is how it blends wet-dry. You can see some slight yips here and there on the fresh shot and several bad shots, but as it settles in, so does the Idol, and for a while I was freewheeling and half forgot I was making a video. Eventually though, surface does what surface does, and the lanes began to burn. The issue isn't the track burning on a house shot though, it's the heads, because once you're forced left, you go from the dry of the track and the heads right into the heaviest volume on the lane, plus adding more angle. I did move a bit inside with the Idol, but moving left and swinging it isn't its forte on any condition, and it fought the good fight for a few more shots, but it became obvious a change was needed, so I tried the other two, and here was where I realized my mistake. The Super Idol's a great ball, I'm a huge fan, but as with the Idol, angle isn't its thing, not without some help in the track or down lane. I threw it in league a couple nights before I filmed for the videos and shot 760, but it was the only ball I threw all night, and I didn't ever have to move. Following the Idol with it here, the track just didn't get developed enough, but I've been forced left because of the burn in the heads, and it just wasn't working. I tried the Idol Pearl as well, and it was a bit better, but more the same story, just too much over-under. Balling down and moving left once you've burnt the track with a ball that's too strong for the condition is a terrible idea, and that's why I think so many people struggle in transition on a house shot. I really need to start with the Super Idol and adjust from there if I even needed to, but as the Idol isn't great at angle, really I'd have needed to ball up from the Super to something like a Physics, something with traction plus an asymmetric core for more torque on the back end. The strength of the Idol is control, traction, and blending the pattern from front to back. It's not a move left and wheel on it type ball. Once I essentially ruin the pattern, I trap myself, but that's where the Marvel Maxx SE comes in, and where its niche reaction shines. It's super chuggy and super heavy rolling, but it also blends the pattern well. So it rolled heavy enough to rev in the soup, but the shine kept it from digging in too early like the Idol, and it just worked really well. I'd intended to compare it to the Super, but as they ended up being completely different, that kind of fell through. However, it happened to fit the situation here. Now moving to a fresh lane, I kind of reset things. I've been working on my mechanics some to allow me to be a bit more versatile, most of that being so I could show off how the ball might react for straighter players instead of just hooking the lane like I usually do. The Super Idol is much better from straighter angles like the original is, and they feel much more similar to each other than either of them do to the Idol Pearl. The Super Idol is several boards weaker than the Idol, though. It almost feels like there's room to fit another ball in there, something like an Intense Fire, but in situations where the shape is what you're after, the Idol and the Super are both very similar, so it would more just depend on oil volume. The Idol Pearl is closer to the Idol than the Super is, but only marginally. I'm interested to see the solid version of the E-Trax cover because the Pearl and hybrid versions are really strong for being shiny. On to Gauge Center and dropping the transition progression nonsense. The Idol was just too strong here, and here's where you'll have to hang with me. The surface here is actually lower friction than the surface at Westridge, and I know you're saying, but wait, it looks like stuff is hooking more here or you're covering more boards. Yes, but instead of it being a slow bleed of the ball's energy all the way down the lane, everything is getting down the lane much easier here. So when the balls do encounter friction, there's a stronger reaction because there's been no energy loss. It's especially evident on different conditions. As oil volumes start to get higher at Westridge, ball reaction gets stronger down lane up to a point, and that's because the ball is getting down the lane easier, while heavier volumes at Gauge just reduce reaction proportionally. The surface at Westridge is also nearly 2 decades old now, while the surface at Gauge is just a couple years old. Both the Super and the Idle Pearl look good here, but this is the Super Idle review, so I threw that one. Once again, it's smoother on the back end. The Pearl picks up stronger, but a reaction that's too sharp on the back end can actually cut through the pins a bit too strong. Smoother reactions sometimes create more pin action. There is such a thing as too much strength through the pin deck. Overall, I'm mixed. I love the shape of the Super Idle more than the Idle Pearl, but the Idle Pearl has really grown on me and settled in. And while the hook potentials are oddly similar, I'd use them in different situations because of the slight difference in the reaction shape. If the back ends were soft, I'd use the Idle Pearl to offset that and deliver some punch, while on stronger back ends such as here, I'd go Super Idle to blend the end of the pattern a bit better. So the question is here, is a Super Idle worth 300 bucks? It's tough, but it's the best looking ball I've ever seen. It's versatile, though weaker than I expected, but if you're looking for a Pearl ball that is a familiar, similar feel to the Idle, this is it. I could also say the same about the Marvel Pearl, though, so I think it would more depend on the cool factor for you, I guess. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. I'm going to head back to the drawing board to rethink a few things, but I do still intend to offer more in the reviews like this going forward. Thanks for watching.